This story is likely to blow your mind. I was tagged with it on X and it came from Reddit. And there are so many criminal offences here, it's quite unbelievable. And just as a heads up, I have a partner for this video, NordVPN, more about them a little bit later. So this post straight from Reddit says, someone in IT trolled me for over a decade. Have I any recourse? Now, just as a caveat, this video cannot be taken as legal advice, either by this poster here or by anybody else, but nonetheless, I can set out the general law for you. Now, this says, I work in a medium-sized firm. Between 2014 and January 2024, I found myself constantly making mistakes while working. Some examples are my calculations on Excel being wrong, data inputs on spreadsheets being wrong, booking the wrong days with my annual leave by accident. I booked the 1st to the 10th of October, but suddenly found that I'd booked the 3rd to the 13th. Impacting the business negatively. Typos in documents that I sent. Counts was replaced with something else. I felt like I was going crazy. So I would do things like screenshot what I'd calculated, but found my screenshot disappeared when I logged back in the next day. So I was wondering if ever I took them in the first place. In February 2024, our IT guy, we'll call him Bob, left us facing a disciplinary and we hired another one. The new IT guy took over the next 2 weeks, approached me and showed me a series of records. Bob, the IT guy, had been accessing my system, editing my work, and changing the information I'd put into my annual leave sheet, among other things. He goes on, this man has been sabotaging my work life for a decade. The consequences I've faced, and this is where it gets really devastating. I was not allowed to work from home, like my colleagues, due to my apparent unreliability. This resulted in £250 of transport costs every month between 2021 and 2024. I've been overlooked for promotion. I've had my professional life and credibility massively damaged. I had to undergo assessments for ADHD and early onset Alzheimer's and other cognitive tests with the NHS, obviously due to all the mistakes and things like that. I was put on a performance improvement plan. The old IT guy has moved out of the UK. But is there anything I can do? I've spoken with HR and they've issued an apology, allowed me to work from home and again removed my PIP. What about all the money I've lost travelling to work for those years? And what about the stress of the ADHD and the Alzheimer's assessments? And what about the years he made me think that I was absent-minded or crazy or even just stupid? Can the police do anything about this? This is just such a horrendous set of circumstances, and it is unquestionably unlawful interference with a computer system by somebody else, albeit in the workplace and albeit, that sort of thing. It is an unauthorized access and tampering and interference with a computer, which is precisely what the Computer Misuse Act of 1990 was set about preventing and criminalizing. There are various criminal offences within the Computer Misuse Act, and this is any unauthorised access to a computer system. And as a bit of trivia, which I'll come back to a bit later with my partner for this video, is that it is an offence to access even a Wi-Fi network without the authorisation of the person that runs the Wi-Fi network. There was another funny story I read some weeks ago where I think it was a skit, to be in all honesty, but it might well have been true, and doubtless it has happened in genuine real life. Someone came next door saying that they can no longer access the Wi-Fi. Next door, they came to say that they can no longer access the Wi-Fi network because the password had been changed. And the person said, yeah, I've changed the password. But obviously that one video might have been a skit, just a parody, but I suspect that happens in real life. It certainly happened with the Netflix fiasco, and then they ended up introducing the household sharing and everything else restrictions. And I know loads of people that have had their Netflix password passed on to other people and all of that sort of stuff. So this is misuse in many different senses of the word. Now, the Computer Misuse Act sets up various offences, and the first, just caveated here, prefaced with a person is guilty of an offence if he causes a computer to perform any function with intent to secure access to any program or data held in any computer to enable such access to be secured. The access he intends to secure or enable to be secured is unauthorized, and he knows at the time when he causes the computer to perform the function that that is the case. So quite clearly, this is a person guilty of an offence by accessing a computer and causing it to perform any kind of function without authorization. The intent that a person has to have commit an offence under this section need not be directed at any particular program or data of any particular kind, or any program or data held on any particular computer. It's just the intent to access a computer system. And a person is guilty of an offence under this section shall be liable on summary conviction and on indictment. So it's an either way offence. On the summary conviction, not exceeding the general limit for the magistrate's court, which has varied over recent years. It's 6 months, and it was changed to 12 months, and then it's been reduced back to 6 months again, or a fine not exceeding the statutory maximum, or both. And on indictment, to imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, or a fine, or both. So this is an either way offence, and this is the simple unauthorised access of computer material. And there are obviously various other offences: unauthorised access with intent to commit or facilitate the commission of further offences, and going on for serious damage, etc., etc. Here, recklessness as to impairing the operation of a computer, and all of these sorts of things. So any one of those things, there could be a number of different offences all going on at the same time by this person who's accessed this computer without authorization to manipulate and change data. And so they will be liable. And as to the question that they've moved out of the UK, well, the offence is committed where it is committed, and whether it is an offence on that in that territory at that time. And since the offence was committed here, they could be convicted in their absence if they're not in the UK, because the offence was committed here. They could be summoned to appear, even though they're not in the UK. One of the difficulties is obviously bringing someone to a court when they're out of the jurisdiction. That is perhaps subject for another video, but nonetheless, the offence has been committed here. The offence is still chargeable. And there are a number of different offences as well, which could be committed along with the misuse of computers, which span not just the misuse of computers, but can span the misuse of social media. They can span the misuse of text messages, contacts, and all of these kind of things, all of which can have very serious consequences and have recent years had very serious consequences for certain individuals. But before we get to that, on the subject of security and the misuse of computers, let me speak for a moment about my partner for this video, and then we'll come back to one of these very serious offences. As a barrister, since the very early days of this channel, one of my objectives was to help you to avoid scams and being defrauded, particularly online with your computer, your phone, and whatever. And it's even more difficult these days when our own banks actually do send us messages that look very much like they could be a scam. And so they're very difficult to distinguish between the scams and the real messages. Ironically, while they tell you to avoid these messages, they send them anyway. So one way that I use to protect myself from scams and frauds and dodgy websites is to use NordVPN. And I'm very proud to be a partner with NordVPN for this channel, so I can offer you a fantastic discount, which you'll find at the link below, which will help to protect all of your devices, your laptop, your phone, your iPad, your tablet, whatever. You can put them all under one account and you can use it wherever you go. NordVPN is a virtual private network, meaning it keeps all of your activity online private. But it's very much more than just a virtual private network. It also scans websites that you visit, it scans downloads that you try to download, and it will warn you in advance of those dangerous websites, dangerous files, and help to prevent you from falling victim to those websites and files that are trying to steal your information and, worse still, take over your machine. And NordVPN has a very strict no logs policy, meaning it doesn't keep logs of what you are doing while you're online. Now, you might find in the comment section some people trying to be helpful to say that actually that's not true and they do keep logs and so on, but NordVPN has been audited many times independently, externally, by PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte, each time upholding these claims by NordVPN that they do in fact keep zero logs of your activity online. What else can you do with NordVPN? Well, if you like to watch certain video streaming platforms, let's say some programs are only available in the United States and you're in the United Kingdom, or vice versa, you're in the United States and you want to watch programs that are only streamed to you from the United Kingdom. Well, because NordVPN is a virtual private network, you can assign a different country's IP address to your computer, meaning the website will think you're in another country and will allow you to access content from that country. Some people in the comments will also tell you that a VPN slows down your internet connection, but I can tell you that that is not true. I have uploaded videos to YouTube on a near daily basis for over 4 years now, gigabytes worth of information every single day, so much so that I had to change my internet service provider to a business-specific service because they were throttling my upload because I was uploading so much content. So they throttled it, it went right down to very, very slow speeds, and I had to switch it out for a business service. But none of which was because of NordVPN, because I tested both with and without NordVPN and it was still slow. But when I switched to a much faster one, it still works just as fast with NordVPN active, meaning all of my devices are protected and it doesn't slow down my internet connection. And there's also a bit of trivia as well. When you're outside and you connect to a Wi-Fi network, sometimes they will tell you to accept terms and conditions and things like that. That's for two reasons. One is because it's a criminal offense to connect to someone else's Wi-Fi without their permission. So by asking you to agree to their terms and conditions, they are fulfilling their requirement of making it all legal. But also, if anything happens, such as your machine gets hacked because there's a bad actor also in the cafe sitting in the corner accessing the network, trying to access your machine while you are accessing your bank in the cafe, which is probably not a sensible idea in the first place, but if you've got no alternative and you just have to do it there and then obviously you've got no choice. But all the more reason then to use NordVPN, because it will help to prevent various kinds of attacks, such as a man-in-the-middle attack, meaning the man on the other side of the coffee shop might be connected to the network and pretending to be the bank when you're trying to connect to your bank, and instead of relaying information to the bank, you're actually sending it to this man in the middle, hence man-in-the-middle attack. So NordVPN will help to prevent all of these kinds of things. So as I say, I'm proud to be a partner with NordVPN. I have a discount link in the description below. You get a full 30 days to change your mind if you do change your mind, but with the peace of mind that you will get with the additional discount, you will move forward being that much more confident that your machines and your devices are safe. So check out my link in the description. Thank you for listening, and now back to the video. And so one of the other very serious offences that can arise from the misuse of computers and social media and messaging platforms and platforms such as X or wherever, and that is the offence of stalking, which comes under the broad heading of harassment under the Protection from Harassment Act 1997. Now, stalking is a particular type of harassment, and it doesn't necessarily need a person to physically turn up in person to be up in somebody's face to stalk them in a traditional sense. You will recall that Alex Belfield had recently been convicted of several counts of stalking, some of whom he had never even met. Now, there are several types of stalking, one referred to as simple stalking, and another which is stalking which involves the fear of violence or serious alarm or distress. Now, either offence of stalking, just like the offence of harassment, is a course of conduct which is on 2 or more occasions the person pursues this course of conduct. And there are examples of stalking within Section 2A, which include following a person, contacting or attempting to contact a person by any means, publishing any statement or material which either relates or purports to relate to the person or purports to originate from that person. So there's a combination here of offences under the Computer Misuse Act, the unauthorised access of computer materials and causing them to act in a way other than that is authorised, and publishing or producing that material which purports to originate from that person. In addition, monitoring the use by a person of the internet, email, or any other form of electronic communication, interfering with property, and watching or spying a person. And again, each of these stalking offences carry prison terms. Now, if the pursuit of a course of conduct has spanned for 10 years, and if a person were convicted of the offence of stalking and together with the offence of misuse of computers under the 1990 Act, one could be looking at many, many years in prison for such an offence charged on indictment. Now, many people wonder what harassment actually is. Well, this is helpfully set out in Section 8. It says every individual has the right to be free from harassment, and accordingly a person must not pursue a course of conduct, which remember is at 2 occasions, which amounts to harassment of the other, and is intended to amount to harassment, or occurs in the circumstances where it would appear to a reasonable person that it would amount to harassment of that person. And the conduct for this purpose includes speech, it includes causing the person alarm or distress, and so if one were to repeatedly say something to the person which is intended to cause alarm or distress, that might amount to a course of conduct which could amount to harassment. Now, of course, there are various defences available to an accusation of harassment or stalking here, and those would include, for example, the detection or preventing of crime, and that conduct which in the particular circumstances was reasonable. So for example, if you were on X and there was a huge debate about a particular topic and you were partaking in that debate and you were making various comments, even if those comments might be distasteful to some people, that doesn't necessarily or automatically make it harassment or stalking for the purposes of this legislation. But, for example, if they said, enough is enough, leave me alone, don't contact me again, and you repeatedly contacted them and or made something public with the intent that they would become aware of it and with the intent of it causing them alarm or distress, then that might amount to harassment and that might amount to stalking. So I'm sure that at some point and at some stage, sadly, most of you will have to deal with some kind of harassment in some form or another. If it's on 2 or more occasions, which is not unlikely when someone has the intent of doing so, then don't feel shy about speaking up about it. Report it to your employer, report it to your friends if they can help you do something about it. And most importantly, if it's serious, report it to the police. And the police can and very much should do something about it. So I hope you found this useful. If you do, please do like the video and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.